For decades, Phil Collins wasn't just a musician, he was a force of nature. His voice filled stadiums, his drum fills defined an era, his songs soundtracked heartbreaks, weddings, late-night drives, and moments people still remember vividly today. From Genesis to his solo superstardom, Collins became one of the most commercially successful artists in music history. And yet, behind the sold-out tours, chart-topping hits, and global adoration lies a man weighed down by deep regret. At 70-plus years old, Phil Collins has openly admitted that fame cost him far more than it ever gave him. His body is broken, his relationships are fractured, and his once unstoppable creative fire has dimmed. This is the story of how a rock-shaking legend reached the top of the world, and why he wishes parts of that journey had never happened. Phil Collins' need for validation didn't start with music. It started in childhood. Born in London in 1951, Collins was introduced to performance at a very young age. His mother encouraged him to pursue acting, and by age 13, he had already landed a role in the musical Oliver in London's West End. That early applause lit something inside him, but it also planted a dangerous seed, self-worth tied to approval. As Collins later admitted, he didn't grow up learning how to build emotional stability. He learned how to perform, how to impress, and how to chase love through success. Music became his escape, and eventually, his obsession. When Collins joined Genesis in the early 1970s as their drummer, he was talented, hungry, and eager to prove himself. But when Peter Gabriel left the band and Collins stepped in as lead singer, everything changed overnight. Suddenly, he wasn't just part of the band, he was the band. Genesis exploded in popularity, especially in the U.S. Their progressive rock roots blended with radio-friendly hits, and Collins became the face of a new era. The success was overwhelming. There was no guidebook for handling that level of fame. Collins worked non-stop, recording, touring, promoting, often without rest. Looking back, he has admitted that he lost himself during this period. I didn't know how to say no, and I didn't know who I was without the music. Phil Collins's solo career took him into another stratosphere entirely. Hits like In the Air, Tonight, Against All Odds, One More Night, and Another Day in Paradise dominated the charts throughout the 1980s. At one point, Collins had 3 albums in the Billboard Top 10 simultaneously. He was everywhere. And that was the problem. To maintain that level of success, Collins sacrificed sleep, health, family time, and emotional balance. He toured relentlessly, often hopping between Genesis shows and solo performances with barely a break. The result? 3 failed marriages. Collins has openly acknowledged that his obsession with work destroyed his personal life. I thought I was being a good provider. In reality, I was just absent. Perhaps Phil Collins's deepest regret centers around his children. While he was building a legendary career, he was also missing birthdays, school events, and everyday moments that can never be recovered. His son, actor and musician Lily Collins, has spoken candidly about growing up with an emotionally distant father. In her memoir, she addressed the pain of abandonment she felt during her childhood. Phil later responded, not defensively, but remorsefully. If I could go back, I'd do so many things differently. I wasn't there when I should have been. For a man who spent his life expressing emotion through music, this regret cuts the deepest. No award, no record sale, no sold-out stadium can replace lost time with family. If emotional regret wasn't enough, Collins' physical decline became impossible to ignore. Years of intense drumming, combined with poor posture, injuries, and surgeries, left his body permanently damaged. He now suffers from severe nerve damage, spinal issues, and chronic pain. His hands tremble. He struggles to walk. He can no longer play the drums that made him famous. For a musician, this loss is devastating. I keep thinking I should be practicing, but I can't, and that hurts. The irony is cruel. The very instrument that brought him fame also destroyed his ability to perform. Today, Collins performs seated, singing while his son takes over on drums, a powerful symbol of both legacy and loss. During his peak, Phil Collins became one of the most played artists in the world. Then came the backlash. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, Collins was suddenly seen as overexposed. Critics turned harsh. Jokes were made at his expense. His music was dismissed as soft, commercial, or outdated. The shift shocked him. I didn't understand why people turned on me. For someone already emotionally fragile, the criticism cut deeply. Collins admitted that it pushed him further into isolation and depression. He had spent his life chasing approval, only to watch it disappear overnight. Despite his upbeat public image, Phil Collins has battled depression for much of his life. He has spoken about periods of deep loneliness, self-doubt, and emotional numbness, especially after retiring from music. Without touring, recording, or performing, he struggled to define himself. When the music stops, you're left with yourself. And sometimes, that's the hardest part. The regret isn't just about missed moments. It's about losing balance, losing perspective, and letting success replace happiness. Unlike many artists who retire on their own terms, Collins's exit from music feels unfinished. He didn't choose to stop playing drums. His body forced him to. He didn't walk away from fame. He faded out, exhausted and worn down. That lack of closure haunts him. I didn't know it would end like this. For a man who gave everything to music, the ending feels unfair, even to himself. Despite his regrets, Phil Collins's impact on music is undeniable. He sold over 150 million records. He influenced generations of musicians. His songs remain timeless. Yet when asked how he wants to be remembered, Collins doesn't mention awards or charts. He talks about connection. If my music helped someone through a hard time, that means more to me now than anything else. In that sense, his regret has reshaped his values. Success no longer defines him. Reflection does. Phil Collins's story is not a cautionary tale against fame, but against imbalance. He didn't fail because he worked too hard. He didn't regret loving music too much. He regrets forgetting everything else: time with family, health, stillness, self-care. At the peak of success, those things seemed secondary. In hindsight, they were everything, and maybe that's why his music still resonates so deeply, because it was born from real emotion, real pain, and real longing. Phil Collins didn't just make songs, he lived them. And now, in quiet moments away from the spotlight, he finally understands the cost.